hockey. That's why we're here. That's our job. So why don't we get right into it and start off with newsroom? We're gonna start off with, I don't know, I guess you could say not a substantial trade, but a trade of sorts. It was substantial for me, Marjorie. So the Toronto Maple Leafs acquired forward Alex Galchenyuk from the Carolina Hurricanes, and the Leafs gave up forward Igor Korshkov and defenseman David Warsofsky.
The Wraparound with Grace, Alessia, and Maryuri.
So Igor Korshkov is one of the Leafs up-and-coming prospects. And from what I knew, and from people that I talked to, it was exciting to see him kind of rise up in the ranks in the NHL. We've seen him from his first year with the Marlies up until now since he's been traded. So it was a little upsetting to see him get moved away when we didn't even get to see him play in the NHL at the standard that we were expecting. So David Warsofsky is 31 years old. 30. 30, thank you. Or maybe he just turned 31, but what I have is 30, so who knows? Either way, he's in his early 30s. I don't think he played for the Leafs. No, so yes, he only has 2 goals and 9 assists in 55 career NHL games with Boston, Pittsburgh, New Jersey, and Colorado. He knows the NHL pretty well, the ins and outs, but he wasn't like anything that I was too sad to lose. Igor Korshkov, however, was very upsetting. For Alex Galchenyuk, while he's a hard worker, his prime was in Montreal, and Alessia knows all about this. And I hate this term, but I'm going to say it anyway. The guy's got no puck luck anymore. He's the hard worker, and if you read interviews with his old coaches and teammates, they say that he's one of the hardest workers on the team, but he can't produce anymore. I'm going to get this out of the way now, and then Alessia, you can take it away. The Leafs have 6 guys out with injuries, 5 or 6. And Alex Galchenyuk isn't in the lineup. Where does he go?
His spot on the team would be in the bottom 6. That's what we said. There's injuries now with the Leafs, and he's still not playing in the bottom 6. I know he just got there, but like Marjorie said, there's other players in that stacked roster that they have that are going to get an opportunity before him. And it's sad because I know how great of a player he was in Montreal. I was a big fan of his when he was in Montreal. You know, it's just the reality. So when he gets an opportunity with the Leafs, he has to capitalize on it.
When we were talking about this last week, I said it didn't make sense for many, many reasons, because how is he going to fit in a team that is already working so well together and has found such great chemistry together? All these lines are working so well together, and Keith can just switch these up and they'll still have great chemistry.
For me, I think there's positives for both the player and the team. For the team, it's more now with the pandemic and having a taxi squad, there's a potential he's put on that taxi squad he's used for injury, purposes. But like we've said, there's injuries right now and he still hasn't slotted in. We'll see in the future. But for him, he's going to a team who has one of the best offensive, the depth on their offense is incredible. So this is the team where he can turn things around. And if he doesn't capitalize on the opportunities that the Leafs give him, there is potential for other teams to try and acquire him after his time in Toronto is over. But if he doesn't show up when he's given the opportunities, that list is going to decrease, because this is a team he could really turn things around with, and he has to. It's going to be up to him. And the thing is that they could have acquired him on waivers the day before.
Yeah, Alessia was very adamant about this.
And I honestly felt for Leafs fans, because that was a thing so many people were saying. He was just on waivers. Why did you have to give a Korshkov for him if he was just on waivers?
If we're going to analyze this trade from a bigger perspective, the real winners here are the Sens and the Hurricanes, who, traded for what they needed and got rid of people that they didn't need. And, that's essentially what a trade is supposed to be, a win-win situation. And so in this situation, realistically, the Hurricanes and the Sens won because they did this quick trade. Carolina was like, ooh, I have someone that I can get now for even better, and let me switch that around. So it's a hard situation that the Leafs have put themselves in terms of they're having a player that they don't essentially need.
His contract isn't substantial, so it's kind of injury insurance, like we've mentioned. He could potentially play on the power play, but like we said, there's so many other players that could slot in. It's a low risk move because we've seen his potential. We've seen him in his prime in Montreal. And like I said, I was a really big fan of him. I know what he's capable of. But after he had some injuries, one in particular, a knee injury, he just wasn't the same. And I don't know if that's to blame on the injury or just, I don't know how he's been training, what he's been doing, his mindset. I have no clue. But it's been so sad for me to watch because I really loved him in Montreal. I thought he was going to stay there for a really long time.
Yeah, I mean, like, who are we kidding? Like, as much as me and Grace can say that we're massive Leafs fans, no one can deny how well they have been playing these past couple of games. And it's not us gaslighting them and us being like, oh, they're doing so great. It's
Unless it is.
no, but it's also you also have to look at how they've been playing. You know, they played against Montreal, who's also been arguably a really amazing team this season, and they were able to push through. And obviously they could have, you know, been better, but they pushed through and they've been playing really well. Obviously, Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner have just been an incredible duo. And not even them, like literally everybody on the team. They've just finally, I think, found their groove. I don't want to jinx them, knock on wood, but they finally found their groove. And I think it's just, you know, no one can deny that it's going to be hard for Alex Galchenyuk to find his spot on this roster. And I don't know if the Leafs are doing him a favor or basically ruining his season because, you know, you're not giving him a chance and you're probably not going to give him the opportunity to grow and actually play this season. Moving on, or else we're going to talk about this for literally forever. And I say this every week, but with any topic that we bring up, we could literally talk about it for hours and hours and hours. We get really off track. So let's move on. We're going to go with the New Jersey Devils, and they finally have given the captaincy to one of their young stars, Mr. Nico Hischier. So the 22-year-old had 14 goals and 36 points over 58 games last season and has a total of 135 points through 209 games. So not terrible. The Devils have been without a captain since the end of the 2018-2019 season, and their last captain being Andy Green. When I first saw that they had named him the captain, I was, on one hand, I was not surprised because I see a lot of organizations, you know, obviously naming, you know, their young picks or their first round picks or their young players as captains. You know, we see it done all the time. Prime example is Connor McDavid. But Connor McDavid is a whole different player and a whole different person, and he's essentially the face of that Edmonton organization. Would I say Nico Hischier is the face of the New Jersey organization? I don't know, because obviously I'm not a New Jersey Devils fan, but at the same time, I haven't heard enough from Nico Hischier for it to be established, or for him to be established as the face of that organization. That's my opinion. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
We talked about this last year, actually, when we were a radio show, but we did talk about this and we were quite negative towards the whole situation then because he's really young. But this is the thing, he hasn't played at all this season. He came back from 11 games missed because of a leg injury, and then he was named captain. So A, that's kind of cool. B, he is actually the face of this organization, because who else do the Devils have?
Exactly.
So he is the face of the organization, and it makes sense that they would make him captain. He's a consistent player. Like, he's not bad. Sure, he's not putting up Connor McDavid numbers, but this seems like their only choice to me.
For me, it seemed like the only choice as well. And like you said, I don't think he's going to be putting up Connor McDavid numbers. I don't think anybody will, honestly. And it wasn't really a surprise to me because he was also an assistant captain last season. So that kind of, the surprise wasn't as big, I guess.
And so it's nice to see younger guys kind of get the opportunity. But personally, I was like, it's a little, you know, strange for me. It's a good mix. It's another a little diversity to add into that pool of captains all over the league, because a lot of the captains in the league are older guys.
Yeah, he's the youngest NHL captain right now, and he's the second youngest NHL captain in Devils history.
Moving from young to a little bit older, we're going to talk about David Ayres.
I don't know how I feel about that segue.
We talked about David Ayres when we had the radio show, because at the time, that's when he came on as the E-Bug, and it's actually the 1-year anniversary today, the 22nd, of him coming on for the Hurricanes against the Toronto Maple Leafs here in Toronto.
and he made history. So Grace, if you want to elaborate.
David Ayres has had the best year. He's been on talk shows before the pandemic hit. He was flying all over North America to go on these shows and to do interviews. And we missed the boat because what I'm about to talk about was announced in September.
Was it actually?
It was. It was announced in September. But we're going to get on it now because it was incredible to us. Disney is going to make a movie about David Ayres.
I didn't even know that.
Alessia's just finding this out right now.
Neither did I. And Grace told me right before we started the show. I was like, what? I'm like, that's awesome.
That's
I find
awesome.
it so funny. Right? Grace has different feelings.
I love it for the guy. But also, how many e-bugs were there before this that didn't get a Disney movie? But that's beside the point. Let me I am
Good
happy
point.
for David Ayres. So he did do a Sportsnet Q&A with Luke Fox this week, which I 100% recommend you go and read because I read it and it was really fun. And it was to mark the 1-year anniversary of that legendary night in net with the Carolina Hurricanes. And he revealed that James Corden was a big part of making this happen. So James Corden called him and was like, hey, would you be interested in a movie about you? And David Ayres was like, heck yeah. Yeah, I would. And then I guess he said this in the interview. Definitely go read it because I'm just going to paraphrase it. James Corden's neighbor worked for Disney. So they went on a walk and then they ended up with a movie about the e-book. And then they mentioned that they were talking about Mark Wahlberg or Ryan Reynolds to play him in the movie. So Deadpool is a goalie now.
Wow. I mean, I guess it would be nice to keep it Canadian.
I had too much fun with it.
To be completely honest with you, I don't think this would have gotten so much publicity if it hadn't had been in Toronto. And it's not me just saying, I love Toronto. I'm from Toronto. Yeah, Toronto. Toronto is just such a massive hockey market, like we always say all the time. And news gets out about anything that happens with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And when this happened, because he was playing for the Canes against the Leafs and he beat the Leafs, it just makes the news and the story even bigger.
You're very correct that he would not be getting this Disney deal if it wasn't in Toronto and if it also wasn't such a humiliating loss.
I was going to say that.
Exactly.
And also the fact that he works and practiced with the Toronto organization.
That's enough about our Toronto talk. I know we've been talking about a lot of Toronto things. This first segment, we're probably driving Alessia insane at this point with all of our Toronto-ness. But you know who's not a Leaf? And who sadly will never be a Leaf, actually. We're going to talk about the kids, Mr. Sidney Crosby. He just celebrated his 1,000th game. To be honest with you, I'm sure he would have reached his 1,000th game a long time ago if it hadn't been for all of his concussions and all of his injuries. But it's nice to see that he's finally reached this milestone because it was only a matter of time. He's such an incredible player. But yeah, let's talk of all things Sidney Crosby, you know, where he's currently at right now with the Penguins, where you think he will be in the future. Will he retire as a Penguin? What do you guys think?
All I know is he's definitely going to be a future Hall of Famer.
He's the golden boy who scored the golden goal. Been in Pittsburgh for forever. His parents' washing machine or dryer, whatever it is, with all the puck marks on it, is still in the Hockey Hall of Fame, and I'm pretty sure it has its own room. And he's going to be a legend. He already is. I think he'll retire in Pittsburgh. If that's your question, I think that he kind of has no choice.
It's going to be really hard to for the Pittsburgh Penguins to let him go. Like, there are rumors that they aren't doing too well this season, like not amazing. So there have been rumors like, oh, maybe they'll expose like Malkin or, you know, certain players to the trade market. And if there were to be a big player for them to put out, I don't think it would be Crosby over Malkin. I think he stays with the Penguins.
It's 2026. Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, and Sidney Crosby all play for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh my God, stop. Don't even say
Out
that.
of your mind.
What is our cap space like? Please. They'd be the only players on the team.
Those are my favorite tweets, though. The ones that are like, imagine Connor McDavid in Toronto in 10 years.
Oh
That's so
God.
funny.
If Connor McDavid is in Toronto in 10 years, that means Austin Matthews is not.
If Connor McDavid is ever in Toronto, I don't know what I'll do with myself.
I think I would blow like a fuse. I don't
know what anybody would do with themselves. Like even Alessia, you have to think about that and go, oh my God.
It's a very weird situation to think about. I don't even want to think about it. Honestly, like
I'm just thinking of the players they would have to give up.
Like
it would look
literally
so
everybody.
Martin Marincin. No, he would still be on the team.
Oh my God. Don't even talk about Martin Marincin. I'm just happy that he hasn't been playing. But yeah, I mean, Crosby has racked up 1,276 points, 3 Stanley Cups, 2 Conn Smythe trophies, 2 MVPs, 2 scoring titles, and 2 Maurice Rocket Richard trophies. If that is not crazy, then I don't know what is. And you add in a few Olympic gold medals in there, a junior world championship, and I don't know what else to add in there. It's funny, not even funny to admit, but I mean, he was probably one of the first hockey figures I saw as I became a hockey fan. You know, I think I just admired the way he played, and you know, him being obviously Canada's national treasure, it was only fitting. But, you know, he's just, I think, the figure that everybody sees when they think of hockey and modern hockey and the hockey in the past couple of decades. And I don't know, he's just, you know, how can you put all of his accomplishments into words? How can you wrap it all up? And, you know, to reach 1,000 games and to reach it with, you know, the same team. You know, he's been playing with the Penguins since he's been drafted. And I think that's another great accomplishment. Not only does it show he's very loyal, but it shows, you know, his work ethic, you know, his personality and everything. You know, there's nothing else to say. Let's talk about one of his former teammates. We're going to talk about the Lake Tahoe series. And it was a funny series in the sense that the Golden Knights and the Colorado Avalanche were playing a game, and then they had to be postponed until midnight due to the very beautiful sun that was out during that game. It was a funny situation. I didn't expect them to actually postpone the game to midnight.
Oh, but their players could have broken ankles on that ice.
Oh, it was
Like, that
awful.
ice was rough. You saw them trying to stop, and they
Yes.
couldn't. So it made sense to midnight. Technically, it was only 9 p.m. their time, so that's a little better.
Yeah, and you know, it was such a beautiful day. It was, you know, the most perfect scenery with the mountains at the back. You know, you have the beautiful lake there. There's no fans, so there's really nothing really obstructing or, you know, catching your eye. Even though it was cool to see people in their canoes or their kayaks, whatever, in the water watching from afar. I thought that was pretty cool. For them to be able to do that and be that close to the players. But it was such a beautiful, beautiful scenery. They couldn't have chosen a better place in terms of backdrop. It's very funny that they did not kind of realize that the sun would be such a big factor. And especially, what time of day was it?
Like
When they were
noon.
playing?
It was the afternoon.
Yeah, and that's peak.
That is
peak sun
that is
time.
hot days in Nevada.
Yeah, it's peak Sundays.
Like a place kind of known for being a bit of a desert. Weather aside, this was a really good idea for the NHL. And even if like they're making a big deal out of not normalizing having no fans at these games, but one game a year in a setting like that without any fans, who's it gonna hurt?
That would be so nice.
Let's hope that series or kind of that structure where they have teams play in very beautiful scenery or scenic views like that in the future. And who knows, maybe we'll see some here in Canada, because oh my gosh, can you imagine them playing in Alberta, like near Banff or something with the beautiful mountains? Oh my goodness gracious, that would be amazing. So they have to keep maybe this term of not Banff, but this term of Lake series. Are you guys ready
No.
for
No.
another day or another episode of Who Said That? There are some interviews. Well, actually, all of them are vintage interviews.
Oh God, help me.
But they're also very recognizable voices, I guess. Well, maybe for me at least,
Okay.
that I'm hoping that you guys would know. Because, okay, let me tell you. Doing this segment is very difficult in the sense that there's only so much interviews out there with like funny things that go on. And I didn't want to give you the usual Mr. John Tortorella, because I feel like we always know that he's saying something kind of ridiculous. So I was like, no Tortorella this week, Marjorie. You have to restrain yourself. So I chose 3 different guys this week. They said some pretty silly things on tape. So I'm hoping you guys can recognize them, and we'll see who's the winner this week. Okay, so we're going to start with the very first video. Okay, I'm going to let it play. And then if you guys want to hear it again, you can. But whoever raises up their hand first, or do you guys want to do teams again?
You want to do teams?
Do you guys want to work together?
Yeah, let's just see if we can guess it.
We were all horse tonight, boy. Big time. Coach was no good. The players were no good. The food was no good. Just hope the plane works.
When I listened to it, I was dying of laughter. I just hope the plane is good.
I have guess, but like I don't know if it's right. Grace, do you have any clue who that was?
No, I just remember seeing this one time and going around being like, the food is no good whenever my parents made me dinner for like a week.
The way he spoke reminds me of like the way Paul Maurice does his interviews. Is that who it was?
Yes, that is in fact Paul Maurice. Isn't that just such a funny thing? And he has so many clips. I would never expect Paul. I mean, I haven't really heard or watched too many of Paul Maurice's interviews, but then there was just like this whole bunch of Paul Maurice interviews where he was just saying the most ridiculous things. I was like,
He's
this is
so
amazing.
like wholesomely savage whenever he does an
Yes.
interview. Like
Yeah, he sounds like genuine and sincere. It's like coming from a place of kindness, but it's not.
But it's not.
Are you guys ready for the next one? This one's funny, I think. Okay,
Oh,
ready?
boy.
Everywhere around, like how you feel, what's going on, what we should have to do with him. Leave me alone, guys. Just let me be and let me play the hockey.
Let me play the hockey.
I know that. Like, if you don't know who that is.
Come on. You have to know who that is. Alessia, enlighten us. Who is this amazing man?
Ilya Brishkalov.
Yes. The amazing Ilya.
Sorry, I just need a minute to collect myself.
Do you guys want to hear that again?
Yes.
Everywhere around, like how you feel, what's going on, what we should have to do with him. Leave me alone, guys. Just let me be and let me play the hockey.
I mean, a man just wants to play. You know, who can blame him?
He sounds like such a small child being like, just let me eat my cookie in the corner.
Like, leave me alone, for God's sake. But yes, he also has so many good interviews and so many good clips of him saying the funniest things. And he's just a treasure. He's amazing. He's hilarious. I love him.
That was a good one.
It's
Like,
all
I
my
actually
heart.
couldn't breathe for a second.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys liked it. Okay. Last one. You should know this one, Grace. You should know this 100%. Even Alessia, you guys should know this without a doubt. If you guys don't know this, then I don't know what to do with my life.
Way the media treats Dion Phaneuf in this city is embarrassing. I think a lot of people should be ashamed of themselves.
He thinks a lot of people should be ashamed of themselves.
This is not Phil Kessel.
Yes.
Thank you.
That was pretty obvious.
Yeah, it's when Phil Kessel was talking with the media, and then he was just basically telling everybody how disgusted he was with Toronto media.
Hey, at least the Leafs retained 50% of his.
Oh my God,
Cap
we're not
hit
talking
for-
about it. We're not talking about it.
Oh.
We're not talking about it.
Alright,
We're not
okay,
talking about it.
alright, I'll stop.
I think we mentioned that last episode.
Yeah, we did because it really.
We mentioned it
bothers me.
every episode. But yes, that was Who Said That. I hope you guys had fun. I definitely love researching these videos. I think I was watching videos for like 2 hours yesterday morning, just finding the best clips and making sure I had some good material. Because once you're in that hockey like YouTube hole, you're in it forever. It's so addicting.
Yeah.
And I forgot to mention that some of these clips are from the NHL's very own website and Sportsnet. And also Alyssa Hope, once again, who has very funny videos on her channel if you want to check that out. But yes, I was watching a bunch of hockey videos from the NHL channel, especially their That's So Weird series. I love that series. But we're going to move on to the very last segment of this week's show. We're going to move on to my favorite segment, because this is where I get to ask Alessia and Grace for their very personal picks. And let's hope that Grace has actually listened to the instructions this time. I said underdog and not underdogs. Who knows if Alessia has more than one, but we'll see. Or who knows if you guys will have the same pick once again. So for this week, Grace and Alessia's corner, we have the underdog of the season. So Grace, who do you got?
My underdogs of the season is 25 of the teams in the NHL.
Please elaborate.
So I think I mentioned this like an episode or two ago, but there's only like 6 good teams in the NHL right now. And the rest of them are just like so middle of the pack, whatever, that like nobody's really an underdog. You don't look at any of the 6 good teams and go, wow, you were supposed to be bad, but you're so good. But I did have one in mind. I had to make that point though, that like this season feels so weird because it's not like people are battling it out. There's just like these...
I thought it was a tricky question. I was like, I mean, I couldn't even think of an underdog. It was very hard. But yes, continue.
Because there's these good teams and then there's these not so good teams. But I did pick one because I knew you'd want me to have at least one. And it was the Florida Panthers, because I make fun of the Florida Panthers all the time and they're doing really well. So they're my underdog.
Actually, I should have seen that coming because we spoke about them last episode. Or no, we spoke at them on our clip about the Central Division, how good they've been and how surprised we were that they got their stuff together. Like we said they should have, and they did, and they listened to us. But Alessia, go on.
Well, no surprise, Florida Panthers were my underdog too. And it's not even like I consider them an underdog from the start of the season. I think we just all underestimated them a bit.
Yes.
I guess you can say
100%.
They're currently sitting second in the Central Division. And I mean, I think I mentioned this in our short segment, IGTV, that we did last week, that, Dallas still hasn't played a lot of games, so they could potentially be in the top 4. But it's not even like the Florida Panthers are in 4th place. They're in 2nd. So even if the Dallas Stars were playing good, they could potentially still be in that top 4. So I think it's just, they weren't really an underdog. Like, I don't think we all, like us three, we don't really pay attention to the Panthers. So it was kind of something like we underestimated them. Not that they really were an underdog, but like I don't really have a strong reason. That's just basically my reasoning because I couldn't think of another team.
That was also my reasoning. So here we are.
Once again, you guys need to coordinate on these things. You guys need to talk beforehand. But you know what? I love it. I love that you guys choose the same
I like
things.
how it's like an upset every episode, though. It keeps us consistent, but it's also a surprise.
I try to come up or like try to figure out something that would be like really diverse and like would have lots of answers, and I'd be like maybe they would have different answers, and you know what? I never win. And I don't think I'll ever win.
This girl spends so much time working on this outline, and then Alessia and I come in here like, I don't know, Super Mario Brothers, and they're just like breaking everything.
The important thing is that you guys came up with an answer, which is all I can ever ask for. But great pick. Once again, that is all for this week. I really hope you guys enjoyed it, especially with Who Said That. I'm hoping you guys like this segment. Please give us feedback on what you think. If you want to hear maybe more trivia from us, more Who Said That. If you guys have any suggestions for us, please, we welcome any suggestion, any questions, or any conversations, really. We want to, be in tune with our fans and be in tune with our audience. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode. As per usual, we always have fun making these for you guys. So please stay tuned for next week. Please stay updated with us on all our socials, on Twitter and Instagram. And thanks for joining us for another week of the Wraparound.